But let's talk food sovereignty now. The Seed and Plant Varieties Act, why a lot of farmers were against it, what it means actually, what are the red and green flags of this act, and what the court has suspended from it. We'll be talking to Kevin Arende Oriri. He is a human rights lawyer and a food sovereignty advocate in studio with us. Karibu, Kevin.
Morning.
Morning, good to have you in studio.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Great show, I'm a big fan.
Thank you. Karibu sana. Before anything else, Jano will share the quote very quickly.
Yes.
The quote of the day, let us know if it says anything to you.
Yes, Wangari Maathai once said, in the course of history, there comes a time when humanity is called to shift to a new level of consciousness. What do you make of that? Are we shifting?
Well, there have been several waves over the past, let's say, 1.5 years, 2024. The nation seems to be, particularly the younger generation, awakening to, a new reality, their rights. And even recently, as you've quoted, farmers, beginning to speak to their rights, all right, and defend and promote this constitution. So I think it speaks to the
shifting.
moment.
Okay.
There's a background to something that has happened here, and this is in terms of seeds and the sovereignty of seeds. There was a case in court, and just reading from excerpts from the judgment, there was a law that was enacted in Kenya in 1972. It's called the Seed and Plant Varieties Act. It was amended several times. In 1998, the Seeds and Plant Varieties, on 7th of June 2002, the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments, 4th January 2013, the Seeds and Plant Varieties Amendments, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, the Seed and Plant Varieties Regulations were published first in 2017 and commenced on even date. The regulations were revised in 2022. The 2022 revision of both the Act and regulations is a subject matter of a petition that was in court. Particularly, the petitioners were challenging the constitutionality of some sections of this law, which the lawyer will talk us through. The petitioners challenged the constitutionality of the impunged sections and provisions for reasons that they provide for the criminalization of selling, sharing, and exchange of unregistered, uncertified, and protected seeds. They contend that this action negates the farmer's rights guaranteed under the Constitution and also international law and so on and so forth. So this was in court.
Correct.
Did the court make a judgment on it?
Court made a judgment on it, Latif. It found a number of provisions that were made pursuant to the 2022 amendments unconstitutional. These amendments were made to the effect that when it comes to the selling of seeds, then it required the individual or the institution to be registered as a seed merchant. Now, the requirements for registering as a seed merchant are a number. You need to demonstrate that you have capacity to have a good distribution system. You need to have a registration fee of 75,000 Kenya shillings.
25?
75.
Oh my word. Okay.
You need to show that you have personnel that are experts in seed law and seed science, amongst other requirements. Now, the farmers, around 15 who went to court, representing peasant farmers and individuals working in rural areas, found these requirements to be at variance with the realities
Too steep.
on the ground. I mean, this is their way of life. This is their livelihood. Since when was I required to have such requirements in order to just distribute what I can say, the process of life, as it were.
I feel like, I don't know if you're still explaining. I was like, let's go back. What is food sovereignty? Who holds the most power over our food and systems?
Thank you, Janet. So in Kenya, as you may know, the small-scale farmers produce about 70% of the food that we eat. This despite the fact that about just 46% of arable land is in the hands of these small-scale farmers. We know in Kenya we have the land question, which has been a thorn in our flesh. Now, of this 46% of this land, small-scale farmers who toil every day are the ones that actually produce the food that we feed as a country. So we rely heavily on them. They are actually the ones who have power over our food systems in the country.
Getting into seeds now. On average, how do farmers get their seed? You know, a lot of people will do 1 or 2 or 3 crops, right? Larger farmers will, of course, specialize and just go into one thing. But how do farmers get their seeds?
Sure. It's good that you've actually shown the disparity. So, the large-scale farmers, people who do agribusiness, and then the small-scale farmers, we can also call the peasant farmers. We have a number of seed companies in the country, multinational corporations, and then we have the Kenya Seed Company, which is the national seed producing company. For most of the large-scale farmers, they have a choice. They will get most of their seeds either from the multinational corporations. Most of the time, these are hybrid seeds. Value has been put into them. They have said to have better yields. And also the Kenya Seed Company.
Right.
Which is actually one of the biggest around the region. For the small-scale farmers, and that's where the traditional systems or informal systems come in. It's crop year after crop year, propagating what you have, exchanging between themselves, selling to each other, based on knowledge that they have themselves from the experience of farming, perhaps from the previous year, and what even in their cooperatives and small associations share knowledge on the best seed. So they source it locally.
Okay. What was, or in your opinion, what was the reasoning behind amending the Seed and Plant Varieties Act to mean that only a seed merchant could share or sell seeds?
Well, so the wider goal of the state was to, for lack of a better term, commercialize the process of, I would call our food systems. The multinational corporations are known across the entire world. And I would say that going into the future, and even looking at the past, we've had wars over resources and so on and so forth. The climate change is ongoing. In the future, I dare say that we'll probably even have wars over food and water and land. These are basic commodities. So the multinational corporations produce seeds. They actually take years of taking time to take a seed and cross-pollinate at times in order to get a much better yielding seed. So they're in business. And since we as a country allow foreign direct investment, then the government came up with this law in order to regulate that process.
Okay. Devil's advocate here. Could the intention been to stop the propagation of either fake or poor quality seeds, and to have basically, what is it called, food traceability systems, which is something that we lack as a country, something that I think we've talked about on this show before, which is that, we don't have traceability. When people say farm to fork, we have no idea. It came from a farm, it landed on my fork.
We don't know the in-between.
But we don't,
we don't even know which farm.
Fair point. Actually, if you look at the entire act, the farmers didn't challenge every provision that was there. That is a very important question, and something that we have as a challenge. and the law actually addresses it. However, a good number of provisions, and especially the ones that were challenged, seem to be more biased towards producing a comfortable environment for multinational corporations to operate, as opposed to supporting traditional food systems, as is required under international law. Kenya is a signatory to a number of international instruments that obligate it to do this. We have also domesticated it under our constitution, under Article 11, under Article 42, both of which require the government to actually, and in fact, Article 11 defines culture as the basis of our democracy.
So, okay, if I may ask, so there's that. There's obviously what we were doing traditionally in terms of identifying a good seed, preserving it, and using it in the next planting season cycle. Right? And it was there. And internationally, there is that recognition that we shall strive as much as possible to identify and to adhere to some of those cultural practices of seed preservation, seed propagation. Okay. Has Kenya done anything like that? Is there any law at all that recognizes that Kenyan farmers have cultural ways of identifying good seed, protecting good seed, using good seed?
None, and that's the unfortunate bit, Latif. We've only had this Seed and Varieties Act, Seed and Plant Varieties Act, since 1972, with a couple of amendments. Now, we expected, after the ratifying a number of international instruments, that there would be amendments towards supporting this very important aspect of our culture.
Okay.
But there has been none.
When you were part of the lawyers in court in this case?
No.
No, you followed this particular case.
Right.
During the entire hearing of this case, was the court presented with an example of seed that we can say that these ones are still unadulterated? They are our cultural seeds, and over the years, they have not actually been contaminated with other commercial seeds and all, that this particular community has used its cultural, traditional ways of seed preservation, and now they are in danger?
None, unfortunately.
To the best of your knowledge, is there any in Kenya that we can say, actually, there's a certain community, there's a certain area you can go where you'll find seed that is our cultural indigenous seed
I'm sure,
in this country?
And a cultural identity.
Identity, yes.
Yeah.
Seed, Janet.
No,
Seed that hasn't been
We can say that
crossed.
this is
For this.
or even today, that they actually are following to the letter their cultural traditional ways of seed preservation, propagation, and all.
That essentially it's the same seed that someone
Yeah.
was eating 100 years ago,
Yeah.
or was planting.
And whether
100
it's been
years ago.
documented. So asking, is there documented evidence of the
Of
same?
such.
Yeah.
There should be.
Now, I wouldn't say for sure whether you'd find such a pure example, but we must also be alive to the fact that I mentioned the Kenya Seed Company, which is the national body that actually subsidizes such seeds. That does that, actually gives it to farmers. So over time, there's been an entire evolution as to the types of seeds that farmers actually use at the grassroots. The law, actually the Seed and Plant Varieties Act, requires that there be an index of seeds that will be used for commercial purposes. But as to having an actual, register of indigenous seeds. That's something that we're lacking, and it is required under international.
Where were you going with that? To
Like-
root it from there.
Yeah, saying this is a good thing that has come from the courts to tell us, "Okay, hold on, step back. We have an obligation and we have cultural ways," but also compelling the government to go back and identify those seeds so that we can, what's the word that you just used? Not register, categorize.
Correct.
And say these are traditional seeds in this community and we are going to preserve them. Otherwise, we are going to say, we need to preserve traditional seeds, but we don't have any.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Kenya, there's Kenya Seed Company. So Kenya Seed Company also doesn't have a register of, we know it comes from multinationals. I think, again, that's a traceability factor. It's very easy to say, this is a hybrid of this and that, and it's a GMO, Do we have anything like that for our seeds with Kenya Seed Company?
No, we don't. And that is what we require.
Yeah, that's what we require. We're going into a break. That hurts me. Because I'm like, we don't document a lot of these things. But anyway, Kevin Arendioriri is with us in studio. It's coming up to 7:30. We'll come back and continue the conversation on food sovereignty and law. Some feedback online. Amelia, first let's start with G. Kimando, because he's talking about the story we had on Business Daily. Amelia is talking about the current discussion we're having, but he asked $15,000 for a night. That's like 1.9 M. Is it a 12-hour night or the night is scientifically extended? Alafu, kuna kitu unabeba ukitoka. Like furniture or electronics.
I think you should carry the entire room as you leave.
All right. Now, Amelia 864, very informative discussion on food and seed sovereignty. Seed Savers Network, GBIAK, among others nationally, are a farmers network that have over the years trained farmers to document and develop catalogs on the different indigenous seed varieties. Thank you for that information.
That is good.
I think that's helpful. It ties into the discussion we're having just before the break, which is, are we documenting? Are we able to trace? Are we able to track? So that we're able to make a stronger case.
True.
But yes.
Where does this catalog then go? Is
Exactly.
it officially recognized from the work that the GBIAK does? Is it officially recognized? And I also imagine that our agriculture researchers at CalRO, like I was saying during the break, I'm sure some of our researchers, very, very good researchers in agriculture in this country, have done this work in terms of our traditional seeds, traditional methods of farming, traditional methods of identifying good seed and such. Where is that information? This particular petition was on challenging several provisions of the amended Act and regulations, which were saying you can't just go selling seed willy-nilly. You need to be registered, seed seller. And the process of registration is what also is contentious here, because it's rigorous, it's also expensive. Because it's assuming that you are doing so commercially. Well, you're selling seed.
You are.
Right?
Yeah.
And they were saying that you will find that then it runs the risk during enforcement for the authorities to come and pick up your seeds, pick up your other items, just like that, without following due process and unfairly. And they're just saying this is going to cause a lot of harm to people who are trying to just go back into the traditional ways. And maybe they're forming an association. They're exchanging seeds among themselves. And someone can come and say, Ati mnafanya nini? You guys are in a kachama like this and you're giving yourself seeds. And you contribute some small money. That's commercial. Bring the seed. So there's that danger that the petitioners, I can see what the petitioners were saying on that. There's that danger of that. What are the safeguards though for it?
The safeguards.
Because then the courts have said these sections of the law and the regulations are unconstitutional. They are against even international treaties that we've signed in this country. And so expunge them. So they've been expunged. Now, is that now floodgates open to anybody now can start selling seeds in this country without any controls? Can I go and start propagating my own two seeds there and then I can come and tell you that these are traditional customary seeds and you have no way of finding out kumbe I've done my own things with the seed?
That's fair. So the safeguards, it's a good question.
Yeah, sure. Again, a very good question, Latif. You see, the problem that the petitioners had with a number of those provisions, and I'll speak to Section 3D of the Seed and Plant Varieties Act, and Regulation 12, is that the enforcement mechanisms lacked procedural safeguards for fairness and fair administrative action. It was akin to setting up a police state at the grassroots. These inspectors were made to be some sort of, police officers that can barge into your home at any minute. And
so the amendment
yes.
has a provision for inspectors.
For inspector, yes.
Okay.
They have access to anyone's homes and private places. They can come at as long as it's within working hours, without notice. Come in, and as long as they have reasonable belief, which the court found not to be reasonable.
Too ambiguous, sir. What is reasonable belief? Una kau kona seeds. You look like someone who's holding seeds.
And vague, that they can just come and basically enter your home and try and look for where you're hiding those seeds. So the court didn't find this to be in keeping with our constitutional values.
Yeah.
And we're saying that it is now the job of Parliament, after certain provisions have been found to be unconstitutional, to now balance the need for providing these safeguards and having a very fair process of inspection and enforcement.
I like that. You've thrown it back to Parliament. They're the ones who are essentially meant to be doing this. So it's up to them to figure out, how do we keep our food safe? How do we have traceability? How do we have, some sort of order? But also, how are we fair to farmers? We spoke about the idea of having these very punitive measures. I want to get into the penalties that would have been there. Again, I really try to understand when people are drafting laws, what's going on there. So assume this inspector does come to my home and finds I am not a registered seed merchant, whatever that means, and I have seeds, and then?
Well, the penalties are quite heavy. We're talking about a fine of 1 billion and or a 2-year jail term. Right. Of course, you also forfeit the seeds.
Of course.
So that is what was found to be quite disproportionate to the enforcement mechanism. It's basically terrorizing the farmers. And I would say that the United Nations Declaration on the rights of peasants and people working in rural areas identifies peasants and people living and working in rural areas as particularly a vulnerable group, ones that do not have access to easy access to justice. They can't afford a lawyer. There's an entire process ongoing and globally of them getting displaced out of their lands for purposes of agribusiness, and so states are required to take a particularly more, we call it positive discrimination.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
Yes.
protectionist,
Yes.
but I like the word positive discrimination.
Correct.
Positive
Discrimination.
Discrimination.
Who owns seeds?
Yes.
Let me
We asked earlier, who owns the seeds? Who has the power over seeds, food systems?
Patents, now that we're getting into that, Kenyan, our indigenous seeds again,
Yes.
are they patented? Who owns them? And these seeds that come from multinationals, who owns them and who stands to benefit?
Yeah.
Correct. So you're speaking to plant genetic resources. So the reason why the state is required to protect what you call traditional knowledge and our plant genetic resources is because for most of the multinational corporations, what they do is if such seeds are not protected, they simply improve it, or a seed merchant for that purpose. They improve it and then they patent it. So as long as it can be shown that now this has better features, it will give better yield, it will probably be resistant to certain pests and so on. then they can own. There's a whole legal framework that protects that. Unfortunately, as you say, since we lack that comprehensive register, then you can easily find traditional seeds getting patented.
Yes.
There's two
These are the
comments I
gaps.
want to. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kevin. You were saying?
Sorry.
So we can find our seeds. Technically,
Elsewhere.
we don't own them. So yes, someone else could patent them.
So they're ours by, just like we say, sovereignty belongs to the people. It has been donated to the three arms of government. These are our seeds, right? Inalienably. But then, if you're not careful, and if you don't have a comprehensive system registration, and the government is not proactive towards protecting it and developing it, then you would
Someone
lose it.
else could.
There's a comment here from Lynn Mbatia 239. GERRI or Jerry, the Genetic Resources and Research Institute and National Museums of Kenya work in partnership with the farmers' networks mentioned to multiply, preserve, and create a sort of backup.
So I think I think it's now working in tandem with Seed Savers Network and GBIACK.
Yes.
So the work is being done, but not
the
by
National
government.
Museums.
Yes, in the National Museums of Kenya.
So there's government there.
There's government there.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, I think the issue with traditional seeds preservation is at a low rate since the environmental structure changed, and people have to look for seeds to adjust to the current weather patterns. That's from Ian Juguna. So just beginning to see those different perspectives.
I very many thoughts are running through my mind in terms of the conversation that has been there in the public domain around seed sovereignty. Okay, organizations such as this one that have been working have been doing that, and trying to preserve their traditional seeds and working with some groups of farmers and so on and so forth. I'd like to know to what extent this has gone, and in terms of recognition, proper recognition officially of this particular seeds and the work that has been done and the documentation of the same, and then the propagation of the same. And I'd also like to hear from even this particular petition, was there a move to ask the court to compel the government to protect these seeds, these traditional seeds, in a certain manner? Because if we don't do that, then everything else will be used as, our traditional seeds, we need to protect them, we need to do this and the other, and we need to open the gates for, we need to lift these punitive measures of controlling seeds, which would be a backdoor for unscrupulous traders on seed to get it to the country or to set up in the country. Because like what you're saying, the inspector would not be going into a farm. They'd be going into where they suspect that this is a seed processing facility. They would go in there, they'll pick the seeds plus a processing infrastructure. So it's a seed processing facility. Now, what's a seed processing facility? Of course, if you have nurseries, you have a seed processing facility. And then they would be seen that this is to a scale that is large enough that you are handing out to other people, to other farmers. If we don't put safeguards, we'll just have these guys who've been doing what they're doing, continuing to do what they're doing at a smaller scale. And then other unscrupulous people will come and set up, and they don't have to be licensed. They'll also claim that they are propagating traditional seeds, and also just adding, because traditionally we used to look at the sun and we can tell there is drought, so we add this and this to our seed, so that they will come up with some story
To manipulate.
to manipulate a seed and say, but the law allows us to do this thing. How do we create the safeguards?
What's the fix there? I was thinking through actually, because you asked this before, and I was like, genuinely, even during the break, what is? Because I do understand the need to have, like we've said, systems, order, traceability, it makes sense. To weaponize, the problem for me, looking from the outside in, the Seed and Plant Varieties Amendment Act, is that it was not people-centered. People being the consumer, that is me, and the farmer, right? I think it was more around, making
political interests or
yeah.
political decisions?
Maybe. But I'm thinking through the fix. And
Yes.
to me, I look at how many, for example, research institutes, even if government has to take the lead, but I look at, we have a wealth of research institutes with a non-governmental everything. We have CALRO, like you've said. That's the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization.
Yeah, right.
We have KARI, Kenya Agricultural Research
That's what
Institute.
now became CALRO.
Oh, it's changed.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Actually, we have an International Potato Center. We have a rice center as well. Guys, we have so
Yeah.
many.
Egerton University has an entire branch on
Yeah.
research on
Right.
food systems.
So in
All of them
fact,
coming together.
In fact, the thing you mentioned about people-centered is what I wanted to now throw to Kevin, because I think that's it. Could one of the fixes be that it is people-centered, that the voices from communities, indigenous communities, farmers, consumers, are the voices that shape the law? I don't think that's happening.
Oh yes, sure. So I think that in fact, Janet, you put it out very, very clearly. The international legislations that I've talked about, UNDROP especially, the United Nations Declarations of the Rights of Peasants, requires.
They need to rename
I was
that.
going to say, that peasants has triggered me from.
The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Peasants.
Of peasants and people working in rural areas.
We need some branding work there. Go on.
Yeah, sure. But just what Mariam was saying, the entire international community recognizes the fact that people living under, would you say, traditionally $1 a day make up most, percentage of people, especially in the global south.
Yeah.
And this legislation was actually pushed for by farmers groups internationally. There's the Nyeleni group that is quite known for pushing for rights of farmers and peasants. So internationally, it's a movement. I think in Kenya, the word doesn't have a very good connotation to it, but outside it's actually taken with pride because they pride in owning the food systems. But to the question that Latif posed, and I was actually reacting to what Janet was saying, is that these laws require that the farmers and the peasants be at the forefront of leading this process. So that it is now the obligation, the duty of the state to work in tandem, in consonance with the farmers, to not only protect and propagate this knowledge, but to also come up with a register. So that we need to go back to the days when the extension services were there and elaborate. So that they work with the farmers. This way, like we talk about Nyumba Kumi and so on and so forth, these are processes that will require the cooperation of the people who are actually doing the most work around it, and these are the farmers and the peasants. So I think, I put it back to Parliament to come up with a very good cooperative mechanism that will both safeguard against unscrupulous dealers and
protect farmers and consumers.
Correct.
How does this feed into, one, now our food safety and sovereignty in terms of keeping these seeds alive, not just for the sake of like tradition, but that they play an important role in our biodiversity, in our health, in all of that. And then how does this feed into now that big GMO debate?
Well, a controversial one there. And so I'll start with, what you alluded to. This is culture. That this system of propagation that is informal and traditional is part of, like I said, under Article 11 of the Constitution. This is the basis of who we are as a people, and we recognize the diversity of how the communities practice. So that's the importance of protecting that. Now, where now the GMO debate comes in. And I will take it from where the discourse we had about the importance of now protecting these traditional seeds, is that once the proponents of GMO have introduced a seed that is genetically modified, what is known scientifically is that it ends up destroying biodiversity. That is, for any crops that are grown, within close proximity of such a farm, then they are contaminated, for lack of a better word. Once that is contaminated, you no longer own that seed or that crop because it already has genetic resources or characteristics of the patent owner.
Right.
And
sure. That's no longer your seed.
Yeah.
It's no longer yours.
And remixed here and there. So how do you claim ownership if it's now been tweaked?
Right.
So that's why the knowledge holders need to be.
Yeah, and we have, especially in the United States, which has actually embraced it most. It's at the forefront of actually leading a campaign for GMOs. We've had several farmers, and that's why you could see someone like Trump ascend to power, because the small-scale farmers, there's been a period of around 20 years where small-scale farmers have been getting slowly pushed to the edge, and agribusiness taking over just by these processes. People have been sued in courts. People have given up their livelihoods just simply having characteristics of somebody's patent contaminating your seed and no longer being the owner.
So that danger still exists, I think. Even with these sections being repealed, essentially, if we do start growing genetically modified seeds, and again, sprinkle, suddenly what was your seed is no longer your seed, and you're being sued by some big multinational.
Then, I was going to ask, is there a best practice law that kind of works for people in a certain country or community that we could glean from that protects, sovereignty, indigenous knowledge holders, farmers, consumers,
Well, I would say Brazil, Cuba, I think Switzerland as well.
Okay.
They have very good legislation and practices, mostly because the state is very proactive towards and as their top agenda, having agroecological methods of farming. And as they do that, they have also a very comprehensive register of these seeds and working in tandem with the farmers. And they recognize the fact that it's these farmers that actually control our food systems. It is they that need to be supported most, while also, providing opportunity for those who want to commercialize it to do business. But ultimately, you maintain sovereignty over your food systems.
So it just needs, again, Parliament is the place, right? And if, as you're thinking about 2027, whatever term you want to think of the term of your current member of Parliament and whether you want to extend it, just by looking at whether they understand the job. If we had good parliamentarians who would think people first and not be influenced by any other kidogo on the side or the call from the bigger office out there, they'd be thinking about such and thinking that someone can come with a proposal and they'd be able to convince other members of Parliament. And they'd have a debate, an open, good debate, where they're saying, Sawa, I'd like to to support this proposal, but these are the concerns. How do we address those concerns? Those should be the kind of debates that we should be seeing in Parliament. Not, Mr. Speaker, these people should sit down.
Yeah. No, that's very valid.
Imagine seeing your MPs fired up about your food sovereignty.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
This
Oh,
would be it.
you took my mind to a better Kenya. Thank you. Thank you very much. Kevin Arende Oriri, he's been with us in studio, human rights lawyer and food sovereignty advocate. This is certainly a conversation that will continue. Thank you for taking time. In the next hour, matters food, broader agriculture. Agri-fintech, right?
Yes.
Grace Njoroge is an agri-fintech specialist. She'll come and tell us more about that. It's coming up to 8 a.m.